Hi ladies, and welcome to my Chick Dig Sports. Are you ready for some football? Woo! Because I am. We are 83 days away from the beginning of football season. Now, that being said, I know it's a little bit obsessive to start counting down the days, but I am a huge football fan. I'm a huge Atlanta Falcons fan, as y'all can see, and I am ready for this to be the best football season ever. The reason I'm doing this vlog is because I get a lot of questions about when we're going to start learning about football. I know most of you and most of y'all are watching because you have a man who loves and obsesses over football. Because remember how we talked about it, football is much more like a man. The season ends a lot faster and they can get to the end to the finish line, which is what men like to do. So, most of my questions come, when are we going to start learning about football? Well, ladies, we're going to start learning about football next month. July is right before they really go to camp. Everybody has a training camp or a spring training in baseball. It's all called something different. But it's basically where everyone gathers and everybody gets to talk crap and see who gained weight, who lost weight, who looks good, who's playing good, who's not playing so good, who's had issues, who hasn't had issues. It's the same thing that happens on your first day of school. You know how that goes. So training camp basically starts for football in August. So I was thinking that in July I could sit down and start discussing with you all the little rules and regulations that come with it, starting with how I always start with all of our blogs when it comes to sports. I'm definitely going to start with explaining who the teams are and where they're located. So I was just having such a great day talking today about football. 83 days until the opening day of football season. So I just wanted to throw this out there, ladies, and let y'all know. Now, football has been in the news hardcore lately. You've gotten to see some signings. My Falcons have done some great stuff. We've got through the draft, which basically, ladies, the draft is the biggest thing in football in the off season. And the off season is just what it sounds like. It's when you aren't playing. Baseball, basketball, all of that, the draft is a little different because you can spend a lot of time in what we call the farm system. And the farm system is just where you hang out, basically, where you get better, where you learn about the things that you need to improve on. Most of the time, you can spend a lot of time in that. Football isn't that way. More often than not, you get drafted or recruited, however it is easier for you. A team picks you out of college. So what they do is they turn it into a huge event. It used to be like a couple hours that they would kind of show you. Now ESPN and all these big networks have turned it into a massive 4-day event that covers everything and shows you everyone's draft pick. So we got to cover that. We got to see that. I didn't do a blog for that because we haven't gotten there yet, ladies. I promise that once we start explaining football and we start talking about it more, I'm absolutely going to go through and dissect it for you. I also know that y'all don't really care all that much about it. But what I do want you to know is this. Of all the sports that we're going to talk about, the NFL's draft is the biggest draft. Because here's why. Once these guys are added to the team, basically, they're going to be playing. Most of the time, they might, like basically for server, like, when you do the trailing shift, basically you don't earn anything, you just get to learn something, which of course is wonderful, but it takes you a little time to actually start playing professionally. It's the same thing here. You actually might take a little bit of time, but a little bit of time in football is a little bit of time. It's basically a few games. Now, if you've been brought up to because you're not quite ready, that's great too. You might get to follow someone for a year or so. Big, huge story in the news is about Tim Tebow. Ladies, if you don't know who Tim Tebow is, definitely look him up. The man is hot. And not only that, he's a pretty good quarterback. I just think he hasn't really had an opportunity to play anywhere and shine. His biggest claim to fame, I guess, is being a born-again Christian. Says that he pretty much seems to walk the walk that he talks. So it seems to be a pretty big deal. He took Denver to the postseason a few years ago as their quarterback, but because of the ownership at Denver, they didn't like the way he was a quarterback, so he was traded. But now he's going to be playing for the New England Patriots, which means he's going to be following Tom Brady, who is a massively good quarterback. And just on a side note, he was not one of the first people taken in the NFL draft when he came up. And I'll get into that a little bit later. I don't want to overboard and overindulge you right now of all this awesome football information. So I always love this time of year in football. People are starting to really, really get buzzing. People are starting to talk about all of the news going on. Tim Tebow is going to basically follow Tom Brady around and learn how to be that kind of elite quarterback. There's only a handful of guys that you really, really think can really step up to the plate and be that kind of quarterback. Tom Brady definitely does so. So I am not a Patriots fan at all, but I do have to give due where properness is due. And Tom Brady is an excellent quarterback. So I'm very curious to see how Tim Tebow follows and trails him and how this is going to work out for him. So ladies, definitely get ready for it. I'm super excited about the news and all the stuff that's coming out in football. I'm going to start covering it a little bit more as we're going. And in next month, I'm going to start doing all the rules and regulations, and I'm going to add it into all the baseball stuff, so we'll have it all sitting here for you. And I promise, as I always do, to keep it short and sweet, and hopefully y'all will learn something. Ladies, again, 83 days till the start of football season. For my team, this is Super Bowl year or bust. We have worked hard for this. I know I have worked so hard sitting at the computer watching it, sitting in front of the TV, in front of the couch, and coaching them. I guarantee that I have worked just as hard as they have. So I'm excited for y'all. I'm excited for this season. Girls, definitely be prepared to learn all about football. And remember what I always say. Ladies, as soon as we know everything there is to know about sports, we'll know everything there is to know. Have a great day, girls.